I've bought a handful of riflescopes over the years, and every time I get that familiar rush of excitement scrolling through the product photos, only to end up with something that looks perfect online and then feels like a disappointment at the range. You know the drill. The magnification looks amazing on the listing, the reticle is sleek, the price seems fair, and then you mount it, pull the trigger, and the image is either too dark, too shaky, or the adjustments just don't behave the way you expected. That gap between expectation and reality is why I'm doing this deep dive today, so you don't waste money on a scope that sounds great on paper but falls short when you actually need it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the ZEISS Conquest V4 16x50 isn't just another entry-level optic. ZEISS has built its reputation on optical clarity, and this model carries that pedigree forward with a claimed 90% light transmission. In practical terms, that means more photons hitting your eye, which translates to a brighter, clearer picture even when the sun is low on the horizon. I tested the scope during a late afternoon deer hunt in the Appalachians, where the light was a mix of golden hour glow and scattered clouds. The target silhouette stayed crisp, and I could actually see subtle color shifts on the foliage, something you rarely get with lower transmission scopes that end up looking washed out. The higher light throughput also helped when I was tracking a moving target at 800 yards. The target remained distinguishable against the backdrop without the usual grain that makes you second-guess a shot. Another piece that sets this scope apart is the ZEISS T** coating. This multi-layer anti-reflective coating is designed to boost contrast, especially in hazy or rainy conditions. During a rainy morning shootout, the scene was literally shrouded in mist, and most optics I've used start to look like a flat gray pane. The Conquest V4, however, gave me a surprisingly vivid image. The reticle lines stayed sharp, and the target's edges cut through the fog with enough definition to place a confident hold. It's not just marketing fluff. The coating really does reduce glare and improves the perception of detail when you need it most. Now let's talk about the clear view in any weather claim. The housing is sealed against moisture and dust, and the internal lenses are nitrogen-filled to prevent internal fogging. I didn't have to worry about a misted window when the temperature dropped from 70°F to 30°F in a short span, which is something many shooters forget to consider until it happens. The scope's durability means you can leave it in a vehicle for a weekend hunt without fearing condensation ruining the optics. That reliability adds a layer of peace of mind, especially for those who chase game in unpredictable environments. One feature that truly shines for long-range shooters is the ballistic stop. This is a mechanical stop that locks the elevation turret in place once you've dialed in 0 at a given distance, preventing accidental bumps that could ruin a hold. I was on a windy day, and after taking a 0 at 300 yards, I set the ballistic stop before moving to 600 yards. The turret didn't shift a fraction, which saved me from a potentially costly miss. The stop is straightforward to engage, and you can still make fine adjustments if you need to fine-tune after a long-range shot, a flexibility that many modern scopes lack. The reticle is the classic ZEISS No. 93 ZMOAi 1 ballistic reticle, but it's non-illuminated. In bright daylight, the fine lines are perfectly visible and align well with the scope's magnification range. However, when hunting at dawn or dusk, the lack of illumination can be a drawback. I found myself having to rely on ambient light, and in a dense forest with minimal light, the reticle became harder to pick out. If you frequently shoot in low-light situations, you might want a scope with an illuminated reticle or plan to pair this one with a tactical light. That said, the non-illuminated design does keep the scope's power consumption at 0, there's no battery, no risk of a dead reticle, and the internal glass stays cleaner without the extra housing needed for illumination. From a practical standpoint, the 416x magnification range is a sweet spot for many medium to long-range scenarios. The 4 lower end gives a decent field of view for quick target acquisition at closer distances, while the 16 high end lets you pick out a small target at 800+ yards without the tunnel vision you get from 20+ scopes. I used the 4 setting while moving through a brushy field and could still maintain situational awareness, then cranked up to 12 for a precise shot at a distant elk. The transition between magnifications is smooth, and the zoom lever feels solid, no wobble, no lag. Now, who should actually consider buying the Conquest V4? If you're a serious hunter who spends a lot of time in varying light conditions and values a bright, high-contrast image, this scope fits the bill. It's also a good match for tactical shooters who need a reliable ballistic stop and